Welcome back to Ranked. I'm Charles.
I'm McCurdy.
So this is kind of a weird one. We're doing the Spanish version of Dracula.
Yes, it's not in subtitles. This is a Spanish version of Dracula. And it had its own VHS release, so it goes on the list. Like it had its own release, Spanish Dracula. El Dracula.
El Dracula. Okay. So I'm, just to save time, I guess, I'm just going to do the Spanish version of last night's opener then. Cool?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, it's good.
Okay. All right. I'll see you in a second.
Hola, McCurdy. ¿Cómo estás?
What is going on?
Empezamos para el principio del Drácula. La historia comienza con un tipo llamado Renfield que aparece un espeluznante castillo de Europa del Este para finalizar un contrato de arrendamiento con el misterioso Conde Drácula, quien convierte a Renfield en su esclavo mental antes de partir a Londres para practicar algún deporte sangriento. Después de la chupar una de chicas, llama la atención del experto en vampiros, al Dr. Van Helsing, quien va a la casa de Drácula en Londres para encontrar su trato de clavarlo una estaca en el corazón, matándolo para siempre, y luego muere.
Gracias.
Buenas noches.
I'm back.
Wow, that was something. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Now I know why the Spanish version is longer than the English version.
Everybody has a Spanish version of themselves.
Oh, I do too?
Just try snapping. Just snap.
Yeah.
Like-
It's probably because I failed Spanish
Okay.
in high school, so,
It's disappointing.
you know. Oh, well. So do you want me to talk about the trivia of Spanish Dracula?
Yes, I am fascinated by the existence of this film.
So this film was made at a time when it was almost the norm to make a Spanish-speaking version of the films, and they would send them to foreign audiences. Today, of course, we would just hire actors in other foreign markets to just dub over this. But again, this is the beginning of sound pictures. It's only been like 4 years since The Jazz Singer. The technology might not actually have been there, so they were just like, hey, let's just hire Spanish-speaking actors to do the same thing.
What other
sets.
movies have this, though?
I'm not sure. Like, I just know of this one.
Like The Wizard of Oz in Spanish?
Well, The Wizard of Oz is towards the end of this era, but like what you find is after they did this movie, these movies didn't do as well. And so what they ended up doing was just putting like subtitles on these films after the fact.
It's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper.
It's cheaper to do that. But you got to remember that like prior to this, what they were doing, they still had this market. So what they were doing was if it was a silent picture, the title cards were all in the other language. So it was just easier to do it that way.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
put it in Spanish. Oh, we just changed the title cards out. Boom, there you go.
Yeah.
But I think because this, obviously because Mexico is just south of the United States, you also have Spain, and there's a lot of other countries that speak Spanish. I think that was the main reason why they were like, oh, well, we'll make a Spanish version.
Can you imagine, though? It's like you watch Lord of the Rings, and it's like, dude, you thought Lord of the Rings was good? Dude, you got to check out Spanish Lord of the Rings.
Spanish Lord of the Rings.
It's killer. Like, what do you mean? Well, the moment that, like Elijah Wood he'd shoot a scene, and then he'd leave. And then, Esteban Woodo would walk in and he would shoot the same scene in Spanish. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
if Antonio Banderas was playing Spanish version of
Aragorn?
Of
He
Aragorn,
would be
there you go.
Aragorn, dude.
There you go.
Like that, yeah.
That would be dope.
It'd be like,
I'd
dude,
be
you
on
think
board with
Viggo
that.
Mortensen is like, you think you have a man crush on him as Aragorn? Dude. Benicio del Toro or Antonio Banderas as Aragorn is so hot, dude.
Who's the guy who plays in Breaking Bad? The guy who owns the chicken.
Gustavo Fring?
Gustavo? No, what's his name? Juan Carlo? Juan Carlo as Gandalf. That's
Yeah,
who I would
exactly.
cast as Spanish Gandalf.
Dude,
Perfect.
I mean, it'd be. Can you imagine in a perfect world, every movie would have the verbatim equivalent for every single culture and language, like
That'd
in a
be
perfect
amazing.
world. In the days of AI, we'll be able to have that. Be like, I want to watch Lord of the Rings in German, and it's just the German version,
And they have all German actors.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me
The
get
Shire is just
into
like
this.
little Bavaria. There's like all these little people running around drinking beer and smoking pipe weed and lederhosen and shit. Like I can't. Sounds amazing.
We'll get to that image Next movie. Okay, let's
yeah,
let's hold off on that.
okay.
Let's hold off on that. So anyway,
I'll
let
drink
me
for
just breeze through this trivia because it honestly is not a lot in comparison to the last movie. So yeah, they use the same script, they use the same sets, and generally they use the same costumes, give or take, for a couple people, but it's all from the English-speaking version. The director of this movie was George Melford, or Jorge. But no, his actual name is George. He was not Spanish. He didn't speak Spanish at all. He actually had done a bunch of other silent films for Paramount, brought over to Universal, and he was directing this film. He actually had to use an interpreter to talk to the actors, some of the actors, while he was directing them.
Nowadays, people would say, that's horrible, that's appropriation. There should have been a Mexican director. It's like, yes, ideally that would have been the case. But back then, they would have been wanting for Spanish-speaking directors. It was LA at the outset of the industry. It's going to be a white guy directing this movie, inevitably. If you understand the context in which this was born, that's the reality.
I still think that is fascinating. I honestly thought maybe there would have been a Spanish-speaking director that would have done this, considering they're in Southern California. But
if it came out of Europe, then maybe. But this was made by LA. This was made by Hollywood. It's gonna be a Jew.
They would usually film at night for this film. Basically, right after the English-speaking film had wrapped production for that day. So they're done for the day. The day's over. They've finished their 12 hours or whatever it was. All right, bring in the next crew. The Spanish-speaking crew would come in with the cast.
Bring in the Mexicans.
Couldn't help yourself.
So they
all come in. We're never going to get any money for this episode. But George Melford was kind of a smart guy, and what he would do is he would watch the dailies from Todd Browning's film, and then he would be like, oh, let's see what we can do to one-up the English version. And so they would make some difference. There's a lot of small but kind of distinct differences between the two films. They are going off the exact same script from Garrett Fort. Of course, it has been translated to Spanish.
Children of the night, what music they make. Son los hijos de la noche. Qué hermosa música componen.
And then there are some scenes that are a little bit more elongated. This film's also, it's about 100, I think it's 104 minutes. It's much longer than Dracula. Dracula clocks in, I think, at like 75 minutes. It's a shorter movie.
This is 30 minutes longer. You can't underline that enough, that how amazing to have a 12-hour dry run of everything that you're going to do and see what worked, see what didn't work. And then you get to come in and make your version. This one had such an advantage
because they could be like, oh, this shot doesn't work, or maybe what if we shot it this way instead of that way. And I think it's cool for a filmmaking experiment to just be like, here are two movies, same script, two different filmmakers. Go watch, see the differences, see what you think works, what doesn't work, and I think it's kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Other major differences besides that is just they beef up a couple of scenes that are a little bit longer. There's some scenes that are shortened. Like I think one scene doesn't even exist, is the first time Dracula attacks that girl that's selling flowers. I don't think that scene is in the Spanish version at all. The first time we see Lucy as the undead, that scene's shorter. Like I don't even know if that scene plays out exactly right or the same. There's even an added piece where Harker and Van Helsing have like just come back from killing Lucy.
Fue una obra de caridad. El clavarle a la pobre la estaca en el corazón. Ahora sí que su alma descansará en paz.
I'm like, that's not in the original one. So obviously they kind of added that. And it may have been in the script originally, but then they shot it and they just never put it in the film. Another thing, some of the names are changed for Spanish-speaking audiences. So Mina is changed to Eva. Lucy is changed to Lucia. Jonathan Harker is changed to Juan Harker.
Mina means mine in Spanish. So my only thought is they would probably change the name of things that had Spanish significance to them.
That would make sense, yeah. Because there was a point in the movie where I was like, well, did they change it from London to Spain or Madrid? But of course, the movie still takes place in London. So it's just kind of funny that they have a character name. They don't keep Jonathan. They change the name to Juan, which is kind of interesting.
But like we'll do that in American movies. Like an American movie maybe takes place in Russia, but they make the choice. We're not going to have them speak Russian, and we're not even going to have them speak English with a Russian accent. We're just going to have them speak English in a normal accent. You know, like that's a decision that's made ahead of time in any movie. And so with this one, they're just like, yeah, they're just going to be Spanish-speaking folks in London.
So we have Dracula's played by Carlos Vieras. Eva Seward is played by Lupita Tovar. Juan Harker is Barry Norton. Renfield is played by Pablo Alvarez Rubio. Say that name 5 times fast. And I think he's probably one of the better actors out of this troupe. Next to Lupita, I think Lupita's a better Mina over the one that we had in the American-speaking version. And then finally, we got our Van Helsing as Eduardo Armenez. I don't know. I'm going to butcher that name real bad.
I just assume that you screwed up all of them,
they all
as
are
usual.
Not accurate. You got to put when we put it together, you're going to put the name under it. And I'm going to just be like, yeah, I butchered that one.
Or like a disclaimer. People always comment like, you mispronounced that. I'm like, you must be new here.
Yeah,
like, it's
that's
McCurdy,
fine.
dude.
I don't care. Anyway, that all being said, Charlie, what was your take on this? Because this is the first movie we actually get to go head-to-head with 2 movies. But not only do you get to go to 2 head-to-head between two movies, it's basically the same movie.
I mean,
which is so cool.
Right off the bat, you see the shot of the people in the carriage, and you're like, "Oh my God, it's the same."
It's the same
verbatim.
movie,
but they're speaking Spanish.
Crumbling castles of a bygone age. Entre sus cumbres abruptas se encuentran ruinosos castillos.
It's fascinating. I am completely fascinated by the existence of this film. The fascination, specifically, like I said last episode, we're students of this. So this provides at least a little bit of understanding regarding filmmaking, where people have a tendency to see a movie as it's presented rather than that which it is, which is a series of infinite decisions being made by filmmakers. Anytime you're directing a set, all you're doing is a million different people come up to you all day and ask you a question, and you have to make a decision on the spot. Do you want this shirt or this shirt? Should the camera be here or here? Whatever it is. Should the actors say it like this or say it like that? It's just a million different decisions. That's filmmaking. But then the audience watches it and they just go, well, yeah, that's the movie, and that's all the movie could ever have been. Like because they just see the final product, the best visual metaphor is that it's like a stencil. You put a stencil down, and then what do? You take a can of spray paint and you make a huge mess over the stencil. And that mess represents all the decisions and the let's try this and let's try that and the everything. But then at the end of the day, and through the editing process, you peel that stencil off and it's pristine and beautiful. And people look at it and they go, wow, that's what it is. They just take it for granted. Behind the scenes, everybody's aware of all the tiny little details that went into it. I dream of there being a YouTube channel. We should consider this someday if we can actually make some money, where you would have 2 different film crews who like somebody writes a script and then multiple different film crews make those, they go make it, and then everybody watches them and sees how different they are, because they would be very similar but very different at the same time. And that's what these are. I mean, this movie fascinates me that it exists. And then beyond that, as an editor, what fascinates me is that they definitely had like a second unit where the editors from both films were pulling from the same library of second unit shots that are shared between the 2 versions, but they would take different moments from those shots. So if you play them against each other, one editor's like, I liked the possum crawling around. And then the other editor's like, oh, I like this moment where the possum fell off the coffin. They're making different decisions, and then all those decisions add up to the totality of a completely different film. It's fascinating. These 2 movies are like film school.
They should be. You should watch these in film school.
In film school,
and watch both of them. Yeah,
exactly.
And they are different editors. Yeah, so they are different editors. They are different cinematographers as well as different directors. Which I just wanted to make sure that is clear. But yeah, this is coming through a time in Hollywood where you would make a movie and the director didn't really have as much say in how these movies were being made, because they would just go through almost like a factory process. That's why the term production is used when you're talking about a film production. And so they would make the movie, they'd shoot the movie, and then it was sent off to the editors, and the editors were working on it. So I do wonder if there was like a Spanish-speaking division at Universal that did all the Spanish films. And so they was just sent off to that Spanish director and like, here's the movie, put it together. Oh, we need the shots of this, this, and this. There's a couple other shots in this movie where I'm not sure if it's Bela Lugosi or the guy Carlos who plays Dracula, because I'm like looking, I'm like, is that Bella or is that the other guy?
There's absolutely some overlap. I think it's a shot outside of the theater, and it's like, that's Bela Lugosi. And they used it because it's like tall, dark, handsome.
They needed
but you can't see
that,
his face. Using these shots is clearly just quick fixes to save money and time, which, by the way, in the past, people have asked me, what exactly is it that a producer does? This is the type of stuff they do. And I've always laid out this analogy of constructing a building. They're similar enterprises, essentially because you need to manage an army of people. Building a building, the script is like the blueprint, the architect is like the writer, but it's not like guys just show up on the job site and just like, I'll just hammer some nails over here. Yeah, I'll dig a hole over here. Those guys are supervised by a general contractor or whatever, who's basically the director. He's on the site telling everybody what to do and when to do it. You've got the guy over here in the office who's basically like the producer, who's, running the budget and like making sure that everything's on schedule because everything comes down to dollars and time. People just look at the building and they just go, well, yeah, you just get some steel and some wood and nails and you just construct the thing. Like, what's the big deal? Well, yeah, you just set up the camera and people get in front of the camera and then the movie gets made. No. The human element demands that there's going to be problem after problem after problem. It's organized chaos. Every moment of every day of production is one problem after another. And a producer is not just putting up the money, budgeting, scheduling, they're also dealing with every tiny little problem that occurs throughout the day, and there are a million of them. And so the producer's behind the scenes facilitating so that the director, general contractor or whatever, can just do the work. The producer handles everything so the director can just focus on telling his story, which is done by making a million decisions over the course of every day of production. But it's all in the nitty-gritty of the dollars and the materials and the decisions, all the millions of decisions that go into a finished product. And so just changing the language and changing the cast, it's like it's the same movie, but slightly different. So my overall feeling between these two, the toss-up that these two are, is the Spanish version below the English. If I really had to call out one thing, I miss Bela Lugosi. There's a reason why this worked, and it worked because of this man. This Dracula is a clown. If you put Bela Lugosi in the Spanish version, I might say the Spanish version is better, specifically because the Spanish version is like watching the extended edition. There are certain moments that are made clearer because of what they decided to include, where they just flesh out certain moments. It's a little bit more like Renfield has a more drawn out scene in the psych sanitarium.
I think they humanize him a little bit more, and it's kind of that effect when you're watching a foreign film, is that you don't see the line delivery because you don't know the language, so you're not 100% sure if they're even saying the lines right. Like you and I could be the worst actors in the world, and then if you don't speak English, you might be like amazed or just taken aback.
You mean like my Spanish version, who's actually an Iranian?
Yeah, sure.
Who doesn't speak Spanish?
Yeah, like you might not even process it as well. I mean, I think
Carlos did a great job, though.
I think he did.
Yeah,
he did. Carlos was really great. Yeah. But I'm saying that sometimes you might not register the acting in it, and I think that's kind of the same way I felt about Renfield here, was that they gave him a little bit more time to just be like, he can be human at points. I think Dwight Fry's Renfield is, of course, like I'm going to say the word we're not supposed to say on the show is more iconic, but I also really think he's more melodramatic. Like he just really like eats the scenery. And so you're really much more captivated.
I think he's creepier. I think Spanish Renfield is more maniacal. So I like him in a different way.
The one actress that I like more, generally speaking, is Lupita, who plays Eva, who's the Mina. And I don't know what it was about it. It's just there's something that I was more drawn to. And I think it's because she's not doing the melodramatics. She's actually the one that, to me, stands out the most out of that cast. Of course, outside of Rubio, everybody else is kind of just like, they're there, but nobody nobody stands out. And also I think because there's no accents, everyone's speaking Spanish, but you can't, of course we don't speak Spanish, so we can't hear any accents. We don't get the effect of like Bela Lugosi's Hungarian accent.
The spider spinning his web for the unwary fly.
The Cockney's guy who works at the asylum.
He owls and owls back at him. He's crazy.
the wisdom or the Germanic accent of Van Helsing.
Alive, yes, but in greater danger, for she is already under his influence.
So there's a lot that is just missing there that's like lost in translation that you do get in the English version because you pick that up. You're like, oh, I see. It kind of adds just a little bit more character to some of these actors.
Yeah.
And because they're all speaking Spanish, you don't really get that.
The English version is still superior, like I said, literally just on Bela Lugosi alone. There's a reason why this took off. It took off because of Bela.
Yeah, I think Bella's the reason. Like I agree with you. If there's one reason I would say the English version is better, I would say it's Bela.
Every shot of this look, this is the Dracula look. Whereas the unfortunate thing with Spanish Dracula is that
he's not seductive, he's creepy.
Exactly. Bela Lugosi is seductive, which goes back to the theme I was talking about last night. Dracula is a sex metaphor, and so he's supposed to be seductive. Not creepy, seductive.
He's Nick Cage. You know what's really funny to that is that like Nick Cage doing that movie Vampire's Kiss, and he does that face.
Yeah,
and that's almost the same face that the Spanish Dracula does. Is just like, oh yes. There's some technical stuff that they do that is a little more interesting, like the smoke and fog as he opens up the coffin. Because in the American version, they open up the thing, but then the camera just kind of pans and he's already there. Yeah. Another thing, when Dracula is on top of the carriage, the first time Renfield gets to the pass and he sees him, it's very obvious it's Bela Lugosi when you first see him because he's just wrapped right here. In the Spanish version, they were like, no, he should be wrapped up here, so you don't know who that is.
They literally had a dry run. They had this incredible advantage of having a dry run and see what worked and what didn't work, and then to adapt when night rolled around and they were shooting their own scenes. But even then, those little details, they still don't overwhelm. They don't overcome the fact that Dracula himself was miscast and misperformed. Van Helsing just ain't as good. Renfield is different. I would say just as good, but different. Like you said, Eva's a little better than Mina, but I don't care about the small little technical things. Like I said, if you took Bela Lugosi and put him in the Spanish version, maybe then I'd say the Spanish version was better.
Yeah.
But on its own, it just doesn't, you cannot beat this man. You cannot defeat the reason why this worked, and the reason why this therefore worked is because this worked. And if it was just the Spanish version, nope, this wouldn't exist. If only the Spanish version was made, this wouldn't exist.
Just so you're aware, the Spanish version, well, I think it was released in Cuba when it first was released, and I don't know if it even made its money back, and it kind of fell out of obscurity. But the fact that it was like exists and still people know about it, it's cool. It's fascinating. It's just like we're not even that far into the series, but it's like, yeah, we're doing the same movie twice. A lot of times it's put under the special features. I think my version, I was fortunate to have it because it was a special feature on the Dracula Blu-ray disc. You get another movie basically, just a slightly different version.
They are the same thing verbatim with slight differences. Like I said, in the editing, it's like instead of using, like, here's a whole clip, it's like the editor, instead of grabbing this bit, like maybe the other editor grabbed this bit. And so it's really not often that there are entire, like, macro details that change. One of them that is different, though, is that when Renfield is turned, when he's made a familiar, in the English version, Dracula's like, get out of here, bitches. Like, he sends his brides away. That, like, they're about to eat him, and he's like, get out of here. Yeah, that's straight out of the book.
That's
he's like,
kind
no,
of out of the book.
Yeah, this is my man. But then in the Spanish version, they swarm in and they grab him, and it's like, you have to wonder, was there some cultural difference? They're like, oh, I got it. Do you think the Spanish were like, that's gay? Like, they're like, that's homosexual. We don't like, I'm serious. Like, I'm not making a joke. Like,
I don't know.
Was it like the Spanish-speaking cultures would see that more as homosexual?
In the book, what happens is we swap Renfield for Harker. But basically what happens is Harker is trapped in the castle. It becomes the first portion of the book is him trapped in the castle with Dracula. He's trying to survive the night. He's writing these letters to Mina being like, telling how crazy living in this castle is and all the crazy stuff he's been dealing with. And one of the things he's dealt with is that he's in the castle and there's these women that are seducing him. And what happens in the book is that at one point Dracula comes in and basically says what you said, is like, get the back, bitches, like, get out of here. But
this is my dick.
But what happens in the book, what happens in the book is that he has stolen a child from the village nearby and scarps the baby, the child, to the vampire girls to eat and basically dismember. Obviously, they're not going to do that in 1931. That would be way too horrific. But that's what happens in the book. And so they translate it in the English version differently. But then, yes, in the Spanish-speaking version, he doesn't do that. The brides of Dracula come and attack him. And then they're on to the boat. There's some other major differences. Like the one I mentioned was the girl who's doing the flowers, the very overt homage to Jack the Ripper scene.
That woman is beautiful, by the way. She's only in the movie for like a minute.
For the 30s, for the 1930s, you look at women and like she was a beautiful woman in the 1930s.
Like we talked about Naomi in The Spy Who Loved Me, like the whole thing was like Naomi's timeless. Or the redhead too, but Naomi
the redhead
is timeless.
From Moonraker.
Yeah, you could pluck her out and put her in today, and she's just as hot.
There you go.
Flower lady.
That scene,
I'm just like,
anyway, the flower scene, the flower lady scene's not. It's not in there. It's just they cut to their. They come to land. We see that that Renfield's been sent to the sanitarium, the asylum, and then we just cut to the opera, and that's it. But we don't see that little scene, which I think takes something out of the movie. I actually think that scene like adds a little bit of like, oh, Dracula's kind of dangerous. I like that scene a lot.
Personally, I like the boat scene more in the Spanish version. I like how Renfield is unhinged. It's over the top in a good way.
By the way, I didn't mention this last night, but all of the scenes of the ship and them swaying and all that stuff, that's actually from an older silent film that they just pulled, and they were like, okay, we're just going to use shots from another movie, because you can tell it looks like a silent film because it was cranked differently. Like they try to make it back to 24.
I had flashes of like Ed Wood directing Bela Lugosi being like, just walk out of this door
that's exactly
look
what
around.
happened.
And Bella's like, wait, really? I thought we were on a ship. And he's like, yeah, just trust me. In the edit, there'll be all these sailors and everything. And then they just cut to headlines saying, all these corpses. You don't see Dracula actually attack anybody, but it just, all I could think of was Ed Wood. He's like, yeah, just Bella, trust me. I got it.
You're going to do that. But yeah, I didn't mention that last night, but that was something that they pulled over for the Spanish version as well. But I do miss the shot of him like Renfield, like with the creepy eyes, the Dwight Fry, and he's doing that creepy, and it's just a shot of him when they find him in the hold of the ship. I love that shot.
Why, the man's gone crazy.
There's some stuff that like I really like more over the English version that is technical. That's not even
it's like little things here and there. It's like if you could fan edit, if you could just pick and choose all the best stuff and make the best one, that would be great. But
I think at the end of the day, it's very obvious the English speaking version's the better version. I know people. Well, I think there are people out there that are like the OHMSS fans that will say, "Oh no, the Spanish version's superior to the English version." In this case, I'm like, I can't agree. I'm like, no, I think the English version's better.
Hipsterism. Oh, you've
actually the Spanish version
this
is
guy's
better.
Never seen Spanish Dracula. Let's smoke tobacco out of a pipe and drink PBR. You're like, okay, no, dude. Just because it's obscure doesn't mean it's better. Okay,
no.
You watch
this
it.
one. This one, I think the English version's better for sure.
Again, specifically, I think when it comes down to Dracula himself, Bela Lugosi performed Dracula masterfully. That's why his performance, it shaped Dracula forever, just like Sean Connery shaped James Bond forever. Take Spanish Dracula, and he would have been better as a Renfield. Because Renfield should be creepy. Dracula should be seductive. Renfield should be creepy. That's Renfield. That's Renfield. But the guy who played Spanish Renfield was maniacal and psychotic and fantastic. He was my favorite part of the movie. I do like Spanish Van Helsing, but Spanish Renfield was great. But everything about the English version is superior so far as performance goes, and that matters more than like, oh yeah, in this special effect they had smoke. Who gives
they had the smoke?
Who cares?
Yeah, but I agree. I think this is number 2 on our list. I don't think it's the number 1.
Yeah, it is unanimous. It's number 2. So the list is thus: Dracula, El Dracula.
They just listed as Dracula. It's Dracula's Spanish language film, or Dracula in Spanish. Spanish version.
Yeah. We'll call it Spanish Dracula.
Spanish Dracula.
The 1931 Spanish version of Dracula. So we'll just call it Spanish Dracula.
I already have in my mind who we should toast to, but I didn't know if you had somebody you wanted to.
My only thought would be Spanish Renfield. That would be who I would toast to.
I was gonna suggest the director George Melford.
I thought you were going to say Spanish Mina.
I was, but then I thought about it more and I was like, George Melford makes more sense because I think that the fact that they was like, oh, I get to watch. He could have just been like, I'm going to make my own movie, but the fact that he was like, I can see what they did and then try to do my own version, I think that's actually pretty brilliant.
How about this? Let's toast to the dozens of people who went in at night. They had night shoots for however long this production was, and they made an entire movie while the bougie Americans were sleeping in their stupid colonizer beds. The cast and crew of the Spanish version worked through the night for however long it took. These people shooting Dracula throughout the day, and then they would just come in and do their thing at night. I think they all deserve a toast. I think the entire
And the whole cast.
Spanish version cast and crew deserve props for just making this weird anomaly that is fascinating. If you care about filmmaking, you should just watch both of these versions back to back and just see how every little thing counts and every little decision just can create something entirely different, even if it's the same. I would say to the entire Spanish version cast and crew, how cool that they put this whole thing together. Are you doing Nicolas Cage?
No, I'm doing the Spanish Dracula.
Oh. Look how seductive that is. Don't you want to bang this?
Yeah.
Anyway, to the Spanish versions cast and crew.
Cool. Love
Cheers.
it. What? Yeah, I think that was pretty good.
Wait.
That's all I got.
How was that?
That's gracias para tocar mi culo.